let's talk about safety, hearing protection, eye protection, tourniquet,
Tourniquet,
a respirator, fire extinguisher, and last but not least, first aid kit. These two, however, I'm happy to have out here, and they have wall mounting facilities, so that's what we're going to get on with now. Only problem with that being, of course, wall space. I'm gonna struggle, I think. Might have to move some things about. Let me have a think and get back to you. Okay, vlogging style. I think I've made up my mind. Fire extinguisher, I'm thinking if a fire is mainly going to be on the workbench or maybe outside, I need to be able to get into the shed quick and get it. I think over here, just next to the lawnmower, if I mount it just there, above the lawnmower, below that socket and the bow saw, it's going to be an easy grab if I'm working here at the workbench. The fire extinguisher is just there to my right to grab it in a hurry. Equally, I can get into the shed and across, grab it and go back outside with it if I have to. My other reasoning for that is I don't want to bury it, say, up in that corner, because obviously at this time of year all the plant pots are here, which we love, and there's the chairs and other things in that corner, so that's less accessible. Whereas this corner, what with the wood store being here, and these cupboards which I'm going into all the time, and the lawnmower which frequently goes out in the summer to be used, this corner always ends up being empty. As you can see there, I can always get to this corner. I have to be able to get here for the tools and the wood and the lawnmower. So for me to just be able to reach over the lawnmower, which is only not very wide, that is still accessible, and it keeps it sort of out of the way. That as opposed to, I considered by the door, but it's just going to be another thing in the way of the doorway, which is cramped as it is, and the coat hooks, any coats are going to hang down and potentially onto it if I had it mounted here. First aid kit, again, I'm going to need that primarily, I think, at the workbench, because that will be where I am and where I'm probably most likely to cut myself. But as I said earlier, the walls are jammed with tools. So I'm at a bit of a loss as to where to put that. I did consider up in this corner up here, I would still be able to get to it, and it does just about fit, but it looks a bit wedged in. I'm not too sure as I like it there. I think the best option is going to be to move this horseshoe, which I put up ages ago, and put it next to this. Not really sure what to call it other than a display for the rope. Now, as a quick explanation, at Scouts ages ago I was at a workshop and they taught us how to back splice a rope, not that I can remember how because it was a long time ago, sorry, to my Scout leaders, and also to, I believe that's whipping, is to secure the end of a rope, both techniques to stop the ends of a rope fraying. Now for years this was hung on the back of my bedroom door, but when I got in the shed here I thought, ooh, that could do with going on a plaque and then it could be mounted on the wall. So that's where that came from. The little guy in front was a fun story. When I was a kid, when my nanny was alive, her next door neighbour Daphne used to live in grandma's house, and I was playing at nanny's one day next door because they were obviously best mates over the fence, and this little guy got lost over Daphne's fence and never got found. But then Daphne and nanny died and grandma moved into this house. And I was working in the back garden and guess who I found just next to the fence? So he now sits pride of place. I think he's the helicopter guy from Fireman Sam, the mountain rescue dude. Anybody that knows that. Anyway, I digress. I think the horseshoe and the rope display thing can be put side by side up there. I've measured them. I think they're going to fit. And then the first aid kit can go in this space here on this pillar right above the workbench. I think that's going to be a good place for that. So first up, we're going to have to clear some space because drilling brick dust, this will now be a tutorial of how to drill masonry, makes a lot of dust, very fine dust, which can get everywhere. So I've got things that need to go outside so that they don't get covered in mess. I know I've got the light on, it's not late, it's only 11 o'clock in the morning, but it's December, so it's pretty dark all the time. So I've got that on, and it is going to block the view a bit. But I've got everything cleared away, not only from up here but also from down that corner as well. Drilling masonry does put pink, well, it depends what you're drilling. If you're drilling breeze blocks like what your house is actually made of, that comes out all black. House bricks like these comes out all pink dust, which is a nice shade of pink, but it's not really what I want all over my stuff. So it's always important, I find, to just clear everything out of the way when you are drilling masonry. So first up, I'm going to have to get the impact and take these two down, then re-drill for, what, 8 holes to put those up there. Probably bash my head 1,000 times on the light, and I'll probably have to reposition the camera as well so that you can see. Might be able to reuse those Rawlpugs, or certainly get them out the wall. That is often easiest with a pair of needle nose pliers, if you can get in behind them. Yeah, that's probably reusable, to be honest. I'll try and show you up close. Where are we looking? Focus. You can see there how Rawlpugs are fairly single use. You can see how it's splayed out a bit. But I mean, when it's in a hole, if I drill the hole slightly small, it will compress. It's not like they're heavy things that need a lot of support. They're just for display. So try and reuse them if we can. And these, of course, are to solve the problem of a screw will not grip into masonry. It's not, the threads are not strong enough, but they will bite into this little plug. So if you put a hole in the masonry that's tight enough to make a snug fit of this, the plastic, the metal of the screw will then bite into the plastic because it is strong enough to do that, and splay that apart slightly as it goes in, wedges it nice and tight into that hole in the stone and holds whatever you're putting in securely. So obviously you need to match the length of the Rawlplug to the length of the screw, and the length of the hole in the wall to the size of the Rawlplug. So these are just standard sized Rawlplugs for ordinary sized screws. I use them all the time. But it would be nice to reuse them apart from anything else, because then I don't have to burn through my supply of Rawlplugs. Next thing I should probably talk about is drill bits. So this is an ordinary, again, focus, high-speed steel drill bit. You can see it's just got that traditional cone-shaped tip. This is for metal. If it's carbide, would be really good, but a high-speed steel one is just hardened steel, and can be used for metal if it's sharp enough, plastic, wood at a push, although it tends to chew rather than cut. Just an ordinary standard drill bit, comes in all different sizes. For wood, you often get these, I can't remember the name of them. That you can see there, it's got a particularly pointy tip. This one's been used a lot, it's quite blunt, but that's just much sharper, so it makes you a cleaner cut for wood. Now, a stone masonry drill bit is definitely going to be hardened because of that, the density and hardness of wood. And you can see there, those ears on it, either side, they are for smashing, chipping bits of the wood, the stone off. And that's where your hammer function comes in on a drill. So a drill traditionally would have only been able to just spin, and that's where you'd get the blades on the drill bit coming into use, because it carves and cuts through the material. But for stone, you can't really do that, so you have a hammer function, or particularly on bigger drills like this. Most drills nowadays have a hammer function, which means that as well as spinning, it also punches the wall like that. It moves back and forth. You can see there's that slight movement in the chuck of the drill, and it sounds different when it's running. You probably won't hear it on video because I tend to turn it way down when in the edit, because otherwise it's just really loud and annoying. It's just, you know, the sound of a drill. It's not nice to listen to. You want to hear the montage music. So, stop digressing. The masonry drill bit goes in here, goes back and forth and hammers the wall, punches, chips off bits inside with those hardened steel ears, and makes us a nice clean hole. So we're going to be using masonry drill bits. Not this one is too big, but I had it for demonstration purposes. We're going to start small with a pilot hole, a little diddy one, and then this drill bit is what I generally use for normal sized Rawlplugs. So yeah, that's what we're going to start off with. Right, I've moved the camera so you can see. As long as I can get in here, then we'll be alright. I've also chucked up my small drill bit. This drill is old, so it's got a traditional chuck with a chuck key. Modern drill bits just have a twisty to tighten it up. So the drill's now spinning on its normal function, and if I do this, you hear that noise, as opposed to if I put it on hammer. hear that growling noise, the vibrating? That's the chuck going back and forth. It's getting ready to hammer its way into the wall. So now we just need to pop up our 2 items. We have, scratch that. This is going to be a nightmare to edit. What am I doing? You can tell I've not made videos for a while, can't you? Because I'm all over the shop. I'm not doing things in order. I'm not thinking about it. I'm going to try and take this joist hanger down. It's not doing anything. It was here when I got here. They must have put it up thinking they were going to put a joist there and then decided to change it. But I have tried in the past, before I got the impact driver, to take these flat head screws out by hand. Never managed, but now I've got the impact, I might be able to get those 3 screws out and I'll make that much more space. Let's try that. We'll see if we can do one of these. Right, oh my goodness gracious me, that was one of the most frustrating and difficult things I've ever done. What a tight corner. I definitely didn't cheat though, so that's fine. It also wasn't extremely dangerous. I've always said that what I do is not the proper way to do things most of the time. Don't use angle grinders above head height, or drills for that matter. It was just frustration and trying to get the job done. But it's gone now, so that's great. We've got more space, we can space things out more. What was I saying before we got into that debacle and spent probably an hour doing that? That's where the time goes on videos. Looking at 33 inches of space there. This is 11 inches wide. That is 8 inches wide. Maths. We need 4.5 inches of space between each item, because there's going to be 3 gaps. 4.5. Now, when drilling masonry, often when I look at other people's work of drilling masonry, and I see my dad do this as well, they choose to drill into the cement between bricks, which is much softer and much easier to drill. So I can see why they do it. But in my opinion, I would choose to drill into solid brick, because when you drill into cement, it being that much softer, it falls apart and you end up with a very loose hole. So I prefer to drill into the solid brick. You get a tighter, more solid hole, which then you're going to get a better hold into. So I'm just going to mark there for a 4.5 inch gap here, but I'm also going to make sure that all 4 corners here are going to go into solid brick and not cement, just because it's my personal choice. Then we're going to need a 4.5 inch gap there, and that will be the edge of the horseshoe. Right, and then to mark the wall where we're going to drill our holes, we're going to have to put the small masonry drill bit through the holes in the wood, and then mark the wall at the 4 points like that. Back on with the PPE, which is working well actually, I should mention. Okay, I've moved the things, marked the walls, got the 4 points there. I've drawn a circle around each one so I don't lose them. When we're drilling masonry, obviously I've got it on hammer. Now, although it's difficult with the light in the way, I can't see a lot. I'm going to try and keep everything nice and straight, let the drill do the work, nice and level this way and left to right. Push nice and gently in small increments like 1, 2, 3 and so on, until we get all the way in. We can go as deep as we like on the first drill. It's only on the bigger one that we have to go careful with our depth. Next thing you have to be wary of is that drill bits get very hot when you use them a lot, so take care when you're undoing it from the chuck. Don't touch it or you'll burn yourself. Right, so now swapping over to the bigger drill bit. And I'm going to bear in mind that my raw plug is only that long, so that's as far into the wall as I need to go. That's no good. This drill bit's bent, other than that. Right, let's put the Rawlpugs in. Hopefully you all saw me and understand how I just, put the pilot holes in, made the holes bigger with that new drill bit, which worked much better. And now, with the impact and my screws in, everything should go nice and easily into the Rawlpugs. Now, I'm probably going to have to block the shot here because I need to make sure that all my screws line up with all my Rawlpugs, which can sometimes be a challenge, especially when you can't get to the side of it very easily. I think that's it there. I just need to make sure it's flat to the wall before we start tightening any of them up, which I think it is. So now, and there we go, there's one. Right. Process for the first aid kit and the fire extinguisher is going to be exactly the same. So I might well put you on a time lapse so that you can see that. But hopefully that's a bit of a tutorial for anybody that's interested in how I go about drilling masonry. Make sure you got the right screws, the right Rawlpugs. Start with a pilot hole, pop it on hammer setting, clear everything out the way. Things like annoying ceiling joists, which you should always remove in a safe manner. Space whatever it is out, drill your pilot hole all the way. My personal preference is into solid brick because it gets you a nice tight hole, a good nice snug fit of the Rawlpugs and the subsequent screws so that everything's nice and tight on the wall. Line your screws up, screwdriver or impact driver if you've got one, get everything on nice and tight and display your lovely items. And then obviously sweep up at the end. Right then folks, very pleased with my respirator and the ear duffs and everything works on me very well. Like the look of the fire extinguisher and the first aid kit on the wall. Hopefully everything looks a bit more like a proper health and safety equipped workshop now. Along with my tourniquet, just tourniquet, whatever, is there ready to go in my pocket, God forbid I ever need it. Yeah, along with everything else, feeling pretty good about that now. So that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.